So what we did, we set out to make sure that you're in a very in an affluent suburb, by the water. Of course, it's on the water, and basically ensuring that the cash flow was really, really strong. Okay, so these are the basic numbers we can walk through. The land that we got, it was 684,000. So for Sydney people, it's not too bad. You know, Sydney is obviously a really expensive city. We did it outside of Sydney, and some of the clients may well know what I'm talking about, but it was on the water, and we decided we're going to build a nice big house on it, you know, a good size house, so that we'll collect rent that basically the numbers line up so that only 20% of the cost of holding the property, council rates, water rates, and maintenance and management fees, 20% of the rent was taken up by those fees, where often the lower socioeconomic, really low cost stuff might be 50%, which is not good, you know, hard to retire on that. So the numbers are basically this. When you're investing, it's like a business, all right? And Andy started out on this business. Now, if it's a build, you do need to have a bit of a buffer, which Andy's got a bit of a buffer in cash. If you don't have a buffer, then maybe it's a different strategy altogether. You might buy something that's, you know, a couple of years old, or do a renovation or whatever it is. In this instance, we wanted some depreciation, some good cash flow, and to offset Andy's strong income. And so this is the way we went down. Now, in that regard, the way you need to look at an investment, and with Andy, it's a case of a business. It's money coming in and then money going out. And what are you left with at the end of the week? Now, once it's billed, like I say, it'd be $420 a week in positive cash flow. And we've got to get there still. So there's two things happening here. There is your assets and liabilities, and that's what basically makes up your wealth, your assets, that spin-off income. Your wealth isn't your job, it's your assets. And so if you look at this from a financial analytical point of view, we're looking at your asset sheet on one side, so it's a balance sheet, asset and liabilities, and then another sheet is your cash flow. So the numbers on this instance are that we bought the land for 684,000. We are building on it on a fixed price contract for 499,000. We'll call it 500 because it's 499 and $700, something like that. So a $500,000 build. So what's happening here is we've got a fixed price, and with COVID coming on, that was really, you know, that was good. COVID's been good for us, and in other aspects, not as good, because there's going to be some delays with the build. So these are the numbers. 684,000 on the land, $500,000 on the build. So that gets us up to 1.184 as an all-in buy. Now, we were fortunate enough, we do a lot of due diligence. So I didn't mention that before. A lot of companies will say that, but the planning was really quite detailed, and then the due diligence is just as detailed. And so we came up with this spot, and 4 days later, the price had been lifted by $100,000. And then a couple of weeks after that, the price was lifted again. So the $684,000 purchase is now selling. So it's exact same lot next door, same dimension, same aspect, for $935,000. And so they've been selling those, which is great. And so obviously we've come out of the blocks really well. You know, that's a great lift, really excited. You know, everyone's really pumped about that, of course. And the other thing that happened was that with COVID, building supplies started to tighten up. And just after signing the fixed price contract, build prices lifted. And that was happening even with clients still trying to get in. It was tricky because building price lift, and they lifted by 5%. So basically the figures, I just made sure I jotted them down so I wasn't getting anything wrong. So the build now, if we try to do it again, 5%, so $25,000, so it's $525,000. if you try to do this particular strategy again. And so we've generated, if you were to do this again in the exact same spot, same land next door, what are we in for? That's 1.46 million. If you did do this right now, and obviously that's $276,000. So that's excellent. You know, that's coming out of the blocks. Beautiful. Everyone's really, really happy.